Hi everyone, we are back to make another card. You should have in this one a piece of burlap, some flowers, your envelope you can put to the side as we always do. You have a leaf sprig. You've got one of these sentiments. Now listen, this sentiment here looks like I stamped, like I don't know how, but that's part of the stamp. It's a grungy kind of stamp, so that's actually part of the stamp. I did it like 15 times and actually examined the stamp to make sure of it, and that's the way it is. But I didn't like it, so I put a flower over it, no big deal. You've got a larger one that is plain. Then you've got 3 of these, but one isn't like the others. 2, if you look at the back and the front, now you'll know which one the front is because it looks nice. When you turn it over, the back, it kind of looks like the back, right? So you'll see what I mean. So you've got 2 that are singles, and then you've got one that has this on the back. Now you'll have to turn it over to the back. It may be hard, it may actually be impressed in, so just kind of feel for a ridge if that's the case, and then just gently pull it on up. This is what's going to make it. So we're making our hinge card today. So let's start with the hinge. For this card, I would be working on a tablecloth or something like that, simply because it's gonna get a little messy because of this hinge. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the one with the flap and one of the other ones, and we are going to attach the flap, right? You're going to end up putting your ink here. Okay, see the flap? You put your ink here. And then you're going to take the good side, because you'll want to see it on the inside of the card. And you will want to line it up with the die, with the cuts there. So you will have a little piece of the back one sticking up a little bit. That's okay, we're gonna cover that up. Okay, so this is the way it'll go. So you have this part here, right? The good part of this card, the nice side, is facing up. Turn it over. And on the not so nice side, take your glue, and you're doing this only on the flap, not this part of the card, just the flap, just the fold over part. Now I'm going to use this Barely Arts Precision Glue because it really is precision. It's going to dry clear. I am a fan of the Arts glitter glue, the dry clear, but because I live in New York, we can't always get it in the winter months because of the freezing issue and the water properties in it and losing its adhesion properties. But the Barely Art doesn't have that same thing. It's made differently, so it can be shipped anywhere, no matter cold, year round, how cold, year round. So that works. So now I'm going to take this, my glue side is here, so where you see it, my flap is down. I'm going to take one of my other 2 remaining pieces, the nice side facing me, facing up, and I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to line up those 2 so that it looks like it's one. Now this is the benefit of an adhesive glue. First of all, a dry adhesive like a Tombow tape runner or Creative Memories runner is not going to help you in this because you'll see and feel it through the dies, because this is a very intricate, that's what I'm looking for, intricate cut, but also you have that time and that ability to move it a little bit. So I would just hold my fingers a bit and then give it a little bit. Now it doesn't dry instantly, but it is pretty dry at first, and you may be able to see the little bit of glue there. I'm just gonna wipe that off. Now, some people prefer to put this on the inside because they don't want to see this. I don't, because first of all, I still have to cut it anyway. It's not going to fit exactly. I don't mind this piece because it's on the inside. It bothers me more personally that there's overhang in the front. So I am going to take my glue. Again, I'm going to glue on the back, so look for the good side versus the back. I'm going to put my glue there, and this is going to go over the front of your card. Now, it is your card. If you choose to put it put this on the inside and you want to trim it, have at it. It's your card. There's no right or wrong way to do these cards. The inside part just doesn't bother me as much as the outside does, and I live under the card principle of if somebody is really going to say something to me about the card, they're not getting another one. They, of course, right off that card list. And if it doesn't line up exactly, it's okay. It just makes it look a little layered and a little offset, and that's okay too. So make sure that your card is good and done there, but then you want to make sure that you open it because you want to make sure that the two sides don't get glued together. So when I do this, I usually keep it kind of this way in a V to do it that way. Make sure that it dries up a little bit. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take these two pieces. Now, maybe while we wait for that to dry, would be a good time, actually, let's wait for this to dry too, would be a good time to start coloring. But first, we're gonna take some of this burlap. Now, we have this burlap. The piece is plenty long for you to use, and you're probably going to end up snipping it. This is gonna be the worst part of the card because you're gonna have to hold it there for a while, and it takes a while to dry because it's burlap, it's gonna come through. So if you have something that you can use, like you wanna put a book over it, something that's though plastic coated that will not stick to it, but you can also wipe off. You're gonna wanna fold the top. See how this is not folded, right? You're gonna wanna fold the top over. And this is where you'll probably use a lot of glue. Now, you can use clear glue dots for this, and in fact, I don't have any here, but if I did, that's what I would be using for this because so much easier. But you know what? I do have some foam dots here, and if I do this low enough where you're not gonna see it, that might work. I mean, it might not because it's still burlap and it's still a little tricky. And in this case, I don't think less is more. So as you see, I'm not used to a camera overhead. I apologize if it's a little wonky. As you see, I have this across. All right? And now I'm just gonna take the burlap. I'm just gonna fold it on there. So I have that folded look. Now I suppose for the rest of this, I mean, I'll try it and see what happens with that foam tape. It's already gonna be pretty dimensional, so I'm not really worried about that, but you know what? Hang on a second. Let me go get my other foam tape here. All right, here I am. Now, this is going to extend. Did this stay? Oh, it did, here it is. So, how I said you have more, see, you're only gonna want it to here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to see where this is. I'm going to put my finger there and I'm gonna snip. Now I also know that I wanted a V, and I know that it's okay if I'm not that particular about the V. If you are, then you can be a little more careful than me. And remember, you can always stop the video, rewind it, pause it while you do these steps. So that works for me, and I think I'm gonna try this rather than the glue. And let's see what happens, but I have to make sure that it doesn't extend too far, like I don't wanna see it. So I shouldn't put it above my original one there, and it can't be as far down as the V. Well, I guess we're gonna see what happens, right? Move the burlap so it sticks. Now, the burlap is gonna go at the top where the design starts and where the solid line is. That's where you're gonna put it, as center as you can do it. And you've cut it so that it's not quite to the end of the card. My cut is terrible, but that's all right. You know what? I think that worked. And as it is, we're gonna use glue here anyway, so we're still onto the glue for this. So, we're gonna need some glue here. Now you can put it on the back of this plain piece, or you can put it on the ribbon like I did. Line it up kind of with the cutouts. See, now I probably should have put my burlap a little bit higher, and I should have made it a little bit longer. but that's okay. You can still see it. I'm going to ink up the back of my design, my sentiment one. I'm going to put that right in the middle. And again, this is where if I had something heavy to put over it, I would do that while we do the flowers. All right, so I'm going to put that to the side. Let's do the flowers. Now for this, you'll need a flower shaping mat and the flower shaping stylus kit. You just need one of the styluses. You don't need them all. If you don't have one, you can get them at a Long Island Craft Stop. Contact Christina. I'm sure she'll be happy to send those to you. And if you don't have any of this liquid glue, you might want to add that to your order as well. So we're going to take our flowers. If you haven't done flower shaping before, Heartfelt Creations has lots of really quick, really easy videos on how to do this. Oh, we got a color first. I forgot. All right, so I'm going to take my... I'm going to use, because this is what I have handy right now, Distress Oxide Spun Sugar. I think originally I used Memento Lulu Lavender, but it doesn't matter what you use. It's your card. Use whatever you like. I like blending brushes, and these, I mean, they're kind of easy. I don't use a lot because the oxide, as I'm sure you know, is opaque, so I don't want so much on there. So I'm just going to kind of brush. But when you do this, be sure that you're on a piece of scrap paper or something. See, now this flower is little, so I'm just gonna go like that. You see, I'm not really being very careful. You know, nothing in nature is perfect, so it's okay if my flowers aren't colored perfectly either. And it's a card, right? It's going to a person. It's not gonna last forever, unlike, you know, what you want your scrapbook pages to do. So, you know, it's okay. It'll be fine. So you color up your card. I go a little lighter with this because I don't necessarily want the opaque look. I want a little more transparency with these flowers, but we use what we have, right? So while we're at it, but again, I would use a piece of scrap paper, or in this case, plastic tablecloth underneath. With the oxides, that's easy. I spritz it down, wipe it off, and still use the cloth for something else. You can see my tablecloth is slowly moving its way to me. I have green, and this time I'm going to use, because I have handy, Memento Bamboo Leaves. This is a go-to in my house, the bamboo leaves and the new sprout. And again, it's okay if some are darker than others, because again, back to nature, that's what happens. All right, so now we are ready to flower shape. So you would grab your mat, take your flowers, turn them ink side down on the mat. It doesn't work with just any mat. Just let me warn you about that. I've tried it in the past, and you know, people have said, oh no, and like, nah, you're just trying to sell me a mat. But no, sure enough, it does not work with just any mat. Now you need a mister, a water bottle, spritzer of some kind. Fill it up, raise it about a foot over, about 12 inches, spritz once. That's all you need, just once, otherwise the paper will be too wet. You can start with your largest if you've never done this before. Very simple. Never hold the flowers. You can hold the mat. Don't touch the flowers. Start at the end, press, and pull down. Now, sometimes you'll feel like it's a little too dry. That's okay. Just press harder. If it's not working, just kind of press like this then. You remember, it's going in the mail. So, yes, you want dimension. You want it to look pretty, but it's going to be smushed a little anyway. Turn it over. Press down. Okay? Smaller ones, same thing, just pull towards the middle, and you see it start to move on its own. That's what you want to do. That's why you don't hold it. Move on its own, press down, and I'm moving them to the side just so you can see. Now again, if it's not moving towards the middle, just press it down. It'll be fine. Press it down. And I'm using the larger end of the stylus. It doesn't matter which, if you have a whole pack, it doesn't matter which one you use. These are a little smaller, so I'm just going to press around, turn it over, press in the middle, press around. And no, this is not the actual, I think, correct way to do it, but it works. Press in the middle. Okay. My littlest one is going to be for my sentiment. Now I'm going to build my other flowers, though. I'm going to take the two, so you have your smallest, toss it to the side. Then you've got 3 sizes left. Let's call them large. Oh, you've got 4 sizes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you've got that little one, 5, right? The little one we're gonna use somewhere else. Take the largest and the second largest. Now, if you were doing this on your own mat, you probably don't want to glue it on the mat, because once you get glue on the mat, it kind of loses its ability to, you know, flower shape in that spot. But I know I'm being careful, and I like the results that I get when I press down. Put a little bit of glue. Notice I did not use a lot, just a little bit of glue. Offset the petals so that they're not, you know, with the same spot on top. And with the smaller end of your stylus, just press down in the center and just hold it there for a minute or so. Maybe not a minute. Pop it to the side. Take the remaining 2 you have, and in the larger, put a little bit of glue in the center. Offset the petals. Pop that stylus down in the middle. Hold it there for a minute-ish. Pop it to the side. And now we're gonna take our card back, and we're gonna decide where we want our flowers. I already know I want this little one here over that hot mess. And I think I probably want my other 2 here. But I have these leaves. I'm not gonna use them like this. I'm gonna cut them off. I'm gonna use this one. Oh, we should shape those first, right? Duh. Do the same thing. About 1 inch. Ink side down on your mat. For this one, I'm just gonna use the bigger end. I'm just gonna press in the middle a few times, maybe around the edges. And then I'm going to hit the base of them, pressing down. That way it gives me something for the glue to hold on to. So now I'm gonna cut that one off. And I already know. Now, if you were doing pearls, you would put the pearls on your card, not your flowers, but on your card before you did the flowers, because it'll be easier, trust me. And you could also pop dot this. I just didn't. So I'm gonna put my flower there. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the back of the leaf there. I'm gonna stick it under the flower where I want it. Now I've covered up that thing. Now you see how I can move this leaf around? I can move the leaf around because of the liquid glue. Now I'm gonna decide where I want this. So again, I'm gonna be using some glue. I'm gonna pop it here, move it around to where I want it, and I'm just, again, with the stylus, just to kind of keep it in place. It dries quick, but it doesn't dry instantly. So you're gonna have some playtime with that, especially since you have a little more glue on there than you did before. These, I'm just gonna stick underneath a little bit. And again, I'm just gonna stick that there. And now I'm gonna take the rest of my leaves. I'm gonna cut them, right? Put my on camera. I'm gonna cut them. Now I may use them all, I may not use them all. If I don't use them all, I'm gonna save them for another time. Now normally I would place them where I think I want them before I glue them. I'm gonna glue the top and the bottom. But I know that I see an opening here and I want it there. And I'm gonna move this out of the way a little bit there. See, I can still give it a little bit of movement. I'm gonna do top and the bottom, because it might stick to the paper or it might stick to the flower, and I want it sticking to something at least. And there's always that rule of odd numbers, right? That rule of 3, which we may not follow with the leaves. We kind of did with the flower clusters, but we may not with the leaves. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna take this little one and I'm just gonna stick it right up at the top. Because I'll probably lose it anyway, let's face it, it's tiny. And once these were a little more dry, I would drop my pearls in there. And if you've watched a few of the other videos, you know what a fan I am of this gel picker-upper, gem picker-upper. I'm pretty sure Christina has some of these for sale. You just sharpen the point, pick them up, works on rhinestones, works on any kind of bling. You may have a gem picker-upper, whatever you'd like to call it, in your stash, and I would encourage you to use it for this, especially with the pearls on the cards, because it can get a little dicey. The last tip I'm going to give you about the pearls, if you do pearls on your card, is once again, I would try to get it open. I would open my card. See, now that's where you see the hinges. I would open my card and I would do it that way. That way none of the glue goes to the back and gets stuck there. So again, if we went a little fast for you, I apologize, but you have that ability to press pause or rewind or stop as you need to. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Long Island Craft Stop. I hope you enjoy your card. I hope the recipient enjoys the card, and I hope you'll join us again for a class soon.